Ooh. Kapow.
Paul the Apostle did nothing halfway.
Rah, 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 rah.
In his missionary work, he brought the message that Jesus was the Messiah. And as in all things, Paul was intense, relentless, impassioned, fearless, fervent, and completely lacking in all conventional notions of self-preservation. Even when faced with torture, imprisonment, and the threat of execution at the hands of the Romans, Paul remained a valiant minister of the gospel. Paul's intensity began at an early age. But Paul was not always Paul. His parents originally named him Saul. He was a Roman, a Jew, and as a young man, an apprentice tent maker. Saul brought the same intensity to his tent making as he did to all his endeavours. Saul was also a Pharisee, a Jewish scholar and student of law. He was given the best education by one of the most respected rabbis in Jerusalem. Saul's thorough knowledge of Jewish law made him a great writer and a potent speaker. It also led him to persecute early Christians as heretics and blasphemers. Saul was greatly feared amongst the early Christians. He made it a personal mission to seek them out. And he had an uncanny talent for finding them wherever they hid in and around Jerusalem. Saul's brutality towards Christians was unparalleled. And thus he was the least likely vessel God might choose to carry forth the gospel. While on the road to Damascus, hunting for Christians, Saul saw a blinding light in the sky. And heard a voice in his ear. The voice called to Saul and asked, "Why do you persecute me?"
Who are you, Lord?
It was Jesus, the one whom Saul had been persecuting.
What shall I do, Lord?
Saul was commanded to get up and enter the city, where he would be told what he must do. Saul laid in bed for 3 days, feverish and delirious, until the Lord sent Ananias, a Christian disciple, to heal him. Persuaded by the experience, Saul converted, got baptized, and became known as Paul, champion of the gospel. Paul brought the same intensity to preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ that he'd previously brought to persecuting Christ's followers. Paul first joined Barnabas in his missions. Or more accurately, Barnabas joined Paul in what was now Paul's mission. Paul performed many signs and wonders to demonstrate the truth of his message. For example, Paul blinded an evil sorcerer in Cyprus.
Rah!
He converted Gentiles in Antioch.
Rah!
He healed a lame man in Lystra.
Rah! Hey!
And was stoned and run out of every major city in Asia Minor.
Rah!
When Paul wasn't preaching, he was writing, following up with those he ministered to with many, many letters filled with admonishment.
Rah! 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 Rah!
But also encouragement.
Rah! 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 Rah!
Paul rarely came up for air, as he seized every opportunity to spread the good news of Christ.
Rah!
Unfortunately, his intensity did occasionally take its toll on his personal relationships. Paul brought along the apostle Silas for his next mission, which took them to Philippi. But upon converting a fortune-telling slave girl, they were promptly beaten and thrown in jail. That night, Paul, undaunted, sang hymns and prayers at the top of his lungs. At midnight, an earthquake shook the foundations of the prison, freeing them. Paul subsequently baptized the jailer on duty, as well as his entire family. This turn of events provided Paul with what some would regard as wholly unnecessary encouragement. With his newfound momentum, Paul doubled his efforts, despite increasing persecution. Paul soldiered on, spreading the gospel, starting new churches and supporting them with his many letters. Letters to the Corinthians, the Galatians, the Thessalonians, the Romans, and many others, right up to the very end, when Paul was executed by order of the Roman Emperor Nero. Paul's execution did nothing to stifle his voice. In fact, 13 books in the New Testament are attributed to Paul, and much of our understanding of Christianity is due to Paul and his ceaseless work on behalf of Christ.
Rah!